should have wore my green light studio shirt, man. I couldn't. I had it dirty somewhere, anyway. It's all good.
You need a little reserve here.
Yeah, we got 2 shirts each, right?
Yeah,
We're just $100. That's all right.
You need a pile. Where did you make them?
Printful, was it Printful?
Yeah. Like online or something?
Yeah.
Right.
It's pretty cool. You just slap on your PNG and you position it where you want it. Like,
oh yeah.
He's got a G on his arm there. I thought that was cool.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, we went all out.
Branding.
Episode 7?
8.
It's 8. Okay.
7 was the one I'm working on, yeah.
Am I doing the intro?
Yeah, you might as well. I did the intro last time.
So we introduce and then we do like a virtual fist pound and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so just follow my lead, man.
Yeah, man, for sure.
All right. Episode 8. Okay.
You got to get in scene every time.
Yeah. I know.
I love it. Yeah. You can do it.
Welcome to Harbour Sound Podcast, Episode 8. We have, why are we laughing? We have Trevor Murphy here. Welcome, Trevor.
What's going on?
What's up?
And let's do the old fist pound.
And boom. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah, did good.
So, yeah, welcome. We're glad to have you here.
Oh, yeah, excited.
And just kind of tell us what you've been up to, man.
Man, been up to a lot. Yeah, like so I've been playing in this French band called Sluice. So that's been taking up a lot of my time. We've got a few shows hopefully coming up on the horizon. We just kind of fresh off to playing things like Nova Scotia Music Week. We had the chance to play some cool festivals when shows were kind of happening. We kind of hit a nice pocket.
Yeah. Right on, yeah.
So that's good. And I'm kind of like in writing mode right now because we're
Right
looking
on.
forward to what like the next record is going to be. The record I put out, I think it came out in 2021. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
April 3rd,
Okay.
So it kind of starts blending together, but it's called Le Succès par le Travail. It was the first one that I put out under the name Sluice. And so, yeah, we're kind of just thinking about what the next record is going to sound like and what it's going to be and trying to write some songs for that.
Cool.
Well, we got a lot of stuff to talk about there.
Yeah.
So let's go with the album here. So the plaque on the cover of your album, I recognized it. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's the SAR logo, École Saint-Anne-du-Ruisseau.
Yeah.
So I wanted to... Yeah, it's really recognizable. Like I think the intention of doing it. Well, first of all, like the album's called "Le Succès par le Travail," which means success through work, but it was the motto of the school.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I thought when I was writing these songs, which all kind of ended up being about me growing up around the Acadian communities in Yarmouth. I grew up on Surratt's Island, and so I was looking for other things and looking for visual elements that would kind of match that a little bit, and then I kind of clicked with the name, and then I was like, oh, well, the thing should just be the logo. And then I just like took out SAR and wrote Sluice. So there's a lot of stuff like that on the record, whether it's visual in that capacity or whether it's like in the lyrics of the songs, that if like you went to that school at some point in your life, you might pick up on a few little secrets in the music. It's fun.
And the school's now defunct. Yeah. That's been 20 odd years. Well, I mean, it's going on 20 years anyway.
Yeah, I was actually in the first class to graduate from Harbour, which was like the new high school they opened. So I was in grade 11. I finished grade 11 at SAR.
Yeah.
And then I went to Harbour and did grade 12 and graduated from that school. So that was a bit bizarre.
I guess, yeah. That
was a strange
last
experience.
year, right?
Yeah, it was a strange experience.
So I had the luxury of walking through the old school last year.
Yeah,
we did a video.
Yeah, for real estate purposes. And there's some memories there, but it's far removed from what your memory is sometimes. But I don't know if you know that iconic hallway upstairs where people used to lean on each side.
Oh yeah, and you would walk around. Yeah. Like I was telling somebody about this. Like we couldn't leave the property for school. Like that was kind of before the days where even though people would drive to school, like you weren't really allowed to leave because the only place to go was Yarmouth, and it was kind of too far or something. That was the excuse they gave us or something. But so the only thing to do at like lunch hour was literally walk around those halls like for 25-30 minutes. You would literally just do circles in the hallways, and it was when we went to Harbour, there was no circle, and people would literally just walk up and down the hall and turn around and then come back the other way. Like I don't know if it still happens, but
you guys are conditioned.
We were conditioned. We were like, we gotta walk, man, like burn off those calories from the party mix or whatever.
And SAR, the school Saint-Anne-du-Ruisseau had, I don't know if it exists nowadays, but it was kind of equally a French school and equally an English school.
Yeah.
So everyone just kind of got along, I think. So
it was like from a different era for sure. And I don't, after that, they basically made the decision to kind of, I mean, I don't know if there are any I doubt there's any out there like that exists like that, because a lot of the French schools are
I think
in
it
the last
worked.
20 years brand new, you know.
I think
Right.
it worked. And as far as like class choices, you could either choose it in French or English, and I don't know.
Yeah, it was a bizarre kind of cultural experiment, I think, that went on for about 50 years.
But well, let's talk about your music then,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I've listened to the lyrics,
Yeah.
and they don't always jump out at me, but they're I wouldn't say obscure, but they're very few people, unless you're from the area, will kind of get the references,
Yeah.
which I think is really cool, because I get
Yeah.
most reference. It's a love song to. That's my take of the area and Sluice Point and the Tuscan area, and of course your song Bunkers Island. So
Yeah.
am I right to say that like a love song? It's like it's
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like I wanted to write songs for that record. Actually, I didn't know what I was writing songs about when I started writing it.
Oh, okay,
and
yeah.
one of the things that happened, it was kind of because of the switch in language. So I've been playing music in English for about 20 years.
Right.
And this is the first project I've ever done. I've done a few things where I've translated songs and stuff, but this is the first thing I've ever done where I started writing the lyrics in French from the beginning.
okay.
And I found what was happening was, because my experience with French was so anchored in the place where I grew up,
Right.
that by nature of that fact, the songs I started writing were also anchored in that
Okay.
place. And then the further along the line I got, I was like, well, I should kind of try and make them all about that, so that the album kind of has
Okay.
an overarching theme.
Right,
But yeah,
right.
you're right, because I'm drawing on a lot of those memories to kind of come up with the you know, whether it's the titles or some of the lyrics or some of the experiences I'm trying to describe. Like, it's from a very specific point, I think,
Yeah.
in my life growing up here, like in my teenage years, kind of thing.
Right on. Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, it's like like it when Tragically Hip, their older albums, they start talking about Canadiana, and you kind of took that
Yeah,
approach
yeah,
where
yeah.
it's like there's a story. There's no fluff in your songs. Like, it's all, it's all memories, and it's all friends, and it's some of
got a
them
lot
are
of
love
meaning,
stories,
yeah.
and
Yeah, I
and
think so.
they're real. They're real.
I
Like,
wanted to also write. I mean, I have another band called Quiet Parade, which is my English band, which sounds weird to say. I just call it my band, you know.
Yeah,
what I mean?
there you go,
But
yeah.
it's a band in which I write and perform and sing English songs. And a lot of those songs are kind of more. That band started as more of a folky project, so they were like a lot more, in the early heydays, like sadder and slower and that kind of thing. And that band has changed quite a bit over the years.
Yeah.
But when I started writing songs for this, I knew I wanted it musically to be different. And so even just by nature of me saying, like, I want this to be kind of like power pop songs, like I want them to be really fast, I want them to be punky, I want them
Yep.
to be amped up. And
Right.
the idea was sort of like, let's write an album that would be like your ultimate car ride, like driving on the highway, windows down,
Okay.
put this album in.
There you go, yeah.
So that also kind of inspired, like the last song on the record is called Running the Roads, which is something that like my parents would say to me. Like, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to town. They're like, oh, where are you going? Running the roads again? Like stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I was like,
Yeah.
that kind of, like, what would I have listened to in the car or wanted to listen to in the car at that time?
Okay.
That's kind of how I tried to frame the music I was writing for this
Right on.
project.
That's
That's
awesome.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
just gonna check technical.
What's that?
We're all good, man.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
I
can see
do.
myself.
When I can't see that screen, it just drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, am I right to say that Corey from Reign Over St. Ambrose is often seen in your videos?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, I wrote that record by myself,
Yeah.
kind of in our jam space in Halifax. I demoed everything by myself. And then I shopped out sort of the parts that I couldn't play. Like, I can't play drums, for example. I'm
Okay.
0% good at drums.
Yeah.
So I brought in my best friend Pinky, who played drums on a couple of tracks. He lives in Toronto, but he just happened to be home for like a Thanksgiving weekend with his wife. And I was like, save a day, we're going to the
Nice,
studio.
nice.
Because
Yeah,
yeah.
he grew up here. He's from Eelbrook.
Oh,
So
okay.
I wanted him involved. And then I asked my friend Chris Murdoch, who plays in a bunch of really awesome bands in Halifax, but he also played in this band called Out of Controller, who was like continues to be one of my favorite local bands, and also a band that I was like listening to a lot while trying to write these songs. So I was
Yeah.
like, he's a good person to do it. But otherwise, I kind of played most of the stuff on the record myself, other than a few guitar solos
Okay.
here or there.
Okay,
But then when it came time to performing it live, I needed to put a band together. So I recruited the best musicians
Yeah.
that I knew, which included Corey from Reign Over St. Ambrose on guitar, and my friend A. Wallace also on guitar.
Oh,
so
right on.
Right on.
and
Yeah.
like, those are guys. I run a little record label called the Theadian Embassy, and Reign Over St. Ambrose I mean, I played in a band called Sleepless Nights with A.A. Wallace for almost a decade, and we toured across the country and stuff together.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And but I also help him put out his own music. He has various projects. A.A. Wallace, which is like an electro project. Cheval, which is sort of like a folkier project. And then Sleepless Nights stuff now, which I don't play in anymore, but he still puts out music that way. So it was also a way for me to like, I've worked with those guys. I've helped them out for a really long time. So it was like, bring them in on my band for the first time, kind of, and have them play with me and kind of switch the dynamic around, but also just have your close buds be part of the
that's
backup
cool,
band.
man.
Yeah,
that's
fun.
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've heard your live stuff, and you guys basically represent what you hear on the album too, because that's pretty cool. Because sometimes you hear a live band and it's like, it doesn't sound like the album.
Sure,
but
yeah.
even though it's a mishmash of people that actually didn't record on the album, I think it holds true to the quality that you did get.
Well, I think all credit to the folks who have been playing with me to be able to be like, here's the record, and then we get to practice, and they're like, okay, this is how you play the record. You know, it takes a special kind of person to be able to pull that off too. But they're not complex songs. You know, I don't think either. They're like guitar driven 4-piece band songs. So you know,
3-chord wonders.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That was kind of the inspiration for the bands that I listened to when I was growing up: Weezer and Harvey Danger, and Jimmy World, and
Harvey Danger. You don't hear that every day, right?
No, that's a deep cut. But that record, Where Have All the Merrymakers Gone? One of my all-time favorite records. Hands down.
That's
like
the
I know
flagpole guy.
Exactly. I was gonna say everybody knows Flagpole Sitta, but man, there's some good songs on that record.
Yeah. So getting back to the Weezer comment, so of course we initially met when we were shooting one of your videos.
Yeah.
Bunkers Island. Can I say that?
Yeah.
Which is coming out soon, I think, but maybe I can't say that.
Well, it depends on when this drops. I suppose it might already be out.
Yeah.
Check the YouTube.
That's right. So, but you sent us the track so that we can get familiar with it before we shoot the video. And my first thing I said to you was like, "It's like the French Weezer," and you were like, "Yeah, it's kind of what I'm going for." So I think
busted.
Yeah. We caught you.
No, I certainly wasn't trying to hide anything.
Yeah.
It's pretty evident,
pretty cool.
I think. Yeah.
So let's talk about the label, because we're not going to skim over that. So tell me about your label. Yeah.
Well, it's called Theadian Embassy. It's been around for almost 12 years now, and it really started as a way. It was, again, bringing Pinky back into the conversation. We lived in a house together. We moved into this house, and it was him and I and my partner and his partner, and my partner is from Pumnico. So the three of us moved into this house. We're all Acadians. And we kind of have a tradition amongst our friends to give names to like apartments or places. Like prior to us living together, he lived in a place called Dirt Mansion, for example, which you can hear immortalized on the Sluice Christmas song, Say Noel, a Dirt Mansion.
Oh, my God.
Anyway, so we moved into this place and we're like, what are we going to call this place? And the three of us were Acadians, and we were just like, it's the Theadian Embassy. And it was a full house, and so we had sort of like a jam space in our basement next to our washing machines and stuff. And we started the label as a way to sort of say, like, here are the things that are going on in this house. Because Pinky had a bunch of bands, I had a bunch of bands, we had friends who would come over and practice. So it started as a way for us to kind of like chronicle the art we were trying to make in that house. And over time, it because of the name, we started sort of like going deeper and being like, oh man, like we would travel across the country. And again, A.A. Wallace is from Wedgeport, so we all went to the SAR together, and we would be in places like Lethbridge, Alberta, and be like, well, we're Acadians, and people would be like, what's an Acadian? So we kind of started realizing, and then once we named it that, like people started kind of asking us more questions, and that made us kind of ask ourselves more questions, like, well, what does it mean to be an Acadian right now?
Right.
What has it traditionally meant? What does Acadian music even sound like? Are we making Acadian music because we're musicians and we're Acadian? And so it was like a way for us to kind of explore those things, and then slowly over time, like we were releasing mostly English music and instrumental music. Pinky plays in an amazing band called Kuado that put out a record. It's an instrumental record, but it's about the expulsion of the Acadians. It's called The Great Upheaval. I highly recommend it. One of the best records to ever come out of Nova Scotia, in my opinion.
There you go.
Anyway, so we kind of led us down this road where at a certain point I was like, we're going to have to start kind of messing around with some French music eventually because, I was also finding like a renewed pride in my cultural identity. I was not able to speak French for a really long time. Like after I moved to Halifax in 2003, I was like, kind of lost it. It's a muscle. If you don't use it,
Right,
you lose
right.
it, really. And so I was like really ashamed to speak French. And I think like, I don't know if you agree with this, Sean, but like where we come from, because we kind of speak this weird version of French, you don't feel like it's good French.
Oh, yeah.
And you're also often told that it's not good
Oh, yeah.
French.
Oh no.
Yeah, I
You
lived
know?
in New Brunswick, and
Yeah, exactly,
I felt
right?
it. I felt it.
Yeah.
The first year I moved to Moncton, and I'll be ashamed about this comment. A lot of the times I wouldn't approach French people. I speak English because it's strangely the vocabulary, it just doesn't come to you as natural as a lot.
Yeah.
To me, Moncton people spoke proper French. Obviously, that's a farce now, but
Yeah.
they thought my accent was from a place called Bay Saint-On, which
Yeah.
has its own Acadian accent. Like, you must be from there because, but
Yeah.
there was
I
some.
can't understand your English most times. Anyway.
Yeah, there you go.
You're good on both.
This
You're
guy.
Yeah. But that
Yeah.
has like a psychological effect. So like you don't, exactly what you described, you don't want to speak French anymore,
Yeah.
and you're kind of afraid to do it, or you're afraid, it's maybe not the right word, but you're like ashamed to do it. And then over time, I kind of, through various means, found ways to get over that. And then
Yeah.
once I got back to the point where I was like not only speaking French again, but kind of speaking French maybe better than I ever had in my whole life, because I was practicing a lot more and talking to a
Right.
lot more French people.
Yeah.
Then I felt comfortable in, as a musician, saying like, okay, now I can bring that part of my life into
Yeah.
this part of my life. And with Sluice, I feel it's like this big culmination of everything we've been working on at
Okay.
Acadian Embassy. The cultural identity piece, the language piece, the alternative Acadian music piece, all of that stuff kind of wrapped into one thing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's really cool, man.
I feel that when I lived in Moncton, what actually got me out of my shell, and it's like forced, but I wanted a specific job in IT that was bilingual, and I was like, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So I got the job, and I was bilingual right
That's
then and there.
that's exactly what happened to me.
Yeah.
I was working for a company and they were like, I'm going to apply for this contract, but they need bilingual services. You're French. You can do it, right? And I was like, yeah, I can do it. And it was super scary. But that is the thing that kind of like threw me back into the fire. And I just had to it was like trial by fire. I had to like learn on my feet and then just like regain that confidence and just kind of get over that sense of shame. Really, that it's a very real thing. Like I'm working with some kids right now at the high school at Paramba, and we're like writing songs together, and like they're telling me these exact same things.
Oh,
like
wow,
you're talking about
still
like
going.
25 years later, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's like still very real in these communities, and that's why I like coming home, and that's why I like doing interviews and talking about that experience, because I feel like maybe if I had heard that from somebody, one person,
Yeah, it would have
that
changed things.
that I might have been less reluctant to leave it behind or something.
Right, right.
And I feel that the Paramba, ever since that school opened, the French has kind of evolved into even like the local people have like, it's kind of like a blended Pumnico accent sometimes. Like I could be
Interesting,
wrong, but that's what I hear. Like even the local Tuscan people
Right.
have like it's the accents changed a little bit over the years.
Yeah.
So
It's evolution.
yeah. Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah. So I was just about to ask. You said that you were on a writing project right now.
Yeah.
And it sounded interesting. So tell us about that a little bit.
Well, this, writing, like the Sluice record that I wrote is about my experiences, and I am a history nerd. Like I went to university for a really long time, and I focus a lot on like Atlantic Canadian studies. And then I was working on a master's, and that was more focused on like Acadian studies. But I'm really interested in the stories about the places where we grew up, because especially being so interested in Acadian stuff,
Right.
the like sort of narratives that exist out there, Grand Pré, the expulsion.
It's a basically untold story for a lot of people too,
And
right? So,
exactly.
yeah.
And that was one of the things that I was really interested in, thinking like, okay, well, I know all these other stories, but why don't I know the stories about the communities where we're from?
Right, right.
So I applied to the Canada Council for the Arts with this project that was essentially saying, there's a really excellent archive in Tuscan. They've got not only a really good like library of books there, but they have like municipal records and photos and deeds and all this. It's incredible the amount of stuff there. So I kind of proposed this project where I would spend some time there, do some digging around, snooping around, learn some stories about these communities.
Yeah.
And then take those learnings home and then start trying to write songs to tell those stories a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's a brand new, but that's kind of why I'm in and around Yarmouth for this little period of time, because it's like the beginning of that project. So it's really exciting to be able to do that, to be able to kind of have somebody say like, oh yeah, this is like a valuable project. Here's some money to go out and do it. And then essentially to get paid to write music and like learn stuff is a dream come true for me. So I'm like in my glory right now. You know, talk to me in a couple months when I'm deep in the project. I'll be like, what was I thinking? But already, like I've spent 2 days. Like this is brand new research, but already I'm coming home and going like, oh yeah, that would be a cool song, and like starting to write little demos about them.
I bet you could sit in that courthouse and just get inspired, just because that's 1800s, right? Like it's the oldest courthouse in Canada.
Yeah, I think it's like 1808 or something on the side.
Oh my God.
Or something. Yeah, and that's the thing, is like we have these incredible things in our own backyard, and these like really interesting stories. Pubnico is the oldest Acadian region that remains Acadian. So there are we know that people lived there in like starting in 1653. We know that people were expelled from there, although a little bit later than 1755 when the major, like the Grand Arrangement happened.
Yeah.
But they were the only community that post-expulsion were allowed to go back to the place where they were from. And that was mostly people from Massachusetts coming back. But like that in itself is interesting because the heart of Acadie sometimes lives in New Brunswick. I think, especially like post-expulsion, like I mean, for lots of good and valid reasons sometimes. But I think it's important for us as people from here to realize that like our connection goes mega deep, and that these communities, if not from the 1600s, have at least been around since the early 1800s, and that those are really important stories that we need to continue to tell each other, because a lot of our storytellers too were like older people who are no longer here, or who may not be here very much longer. So at some point, I'm not like patting myself on the back and saying I'm a major storyteller or historian or something, but like it's a privilege to be able to at least say like I have a capacity to try and say something about this.
Yeah, sure. That's awesome. That's really cool too, man. Yeah, that is really cool. One of the traditions we do is we put a gun to your head. Not really, but but a gun to your head. What's your favorite band, man?
Winter Sleep.
Oh, easy peasy.
That was fast. Yeah. I've seen that band literally hundreds of times.
The next guests are a talented rock and roll band from Nova Scotia. Now, is that really part of Canada, Nova Scotia?
Some say it is.
Are they the Maritime Provinces?
Some say it is. They're trying to secede, actually.
This is their most recent album. It's entitled New Inheritors. Please welcome Winter Sleep, everybody.
Right on.
Never heard of them.
What's your favorite song then?
I think my favorite song is probably Aluminum, which is like the first song on Welcome to the Night Sky. It's just like a killer opener. But I also really love Dead Letter. I mean, I don't know. I could go on. But we follow that band around. Like in September, we went to Newfoundland just to see Winter Sleep.
Oh wow, yeah. I've never seen any band like any concert or anything like that. But I personally never. He tells me stories I lived through.
I've seen a bunch.
He's like, I've seen Metallica, Nickelback, everybody.
Yeah,
I'm like
Nickelback.
Yeah, Nickelback.
You can't say that word anymore.
You have to beep that one out.
Nickelback. Yeah. I didn't even beep anything.
No, you didn't.
One of my favorite songs of Winter Sleep is Orca. I really enjoyed that. It's like probably the first one I heard. Yeah. So it just kind of stuck. But yeah.
So you probably know the guys personally, do you? Like
a little bit.
So they're all from Yarmouth? Is that
no? right now, so in the current lineup, 2 of the guys, Paul and Tim, are from Yarmouth, and I would say I probably know Tim the best. We've played shows and stuff in and around those bands for a while, but I also played in a few bands with Tim's brother Mike. We had a band called The Establishment, and then Mike has a project called Fossil Cliffs right now that we put out music for on Acadian Embassy, and I played on some of his records. So there's like a family connection there too. But cool. We're also buds. I was actually texting Tim today, which is strange. Not a brag or anything. It was just like reminding me. Like I was like, oh yeah, maybe I have to text him back.
Yeah, we don't got nobody to text.
There we go.
But yeah. No, that's awesome, man. Thanks for coming on the show, and we should do the shout out, man, because if we don't, he's gonna be upset.
He's gonna be upset.
He's gonna cry. And
so Chris French, yeah, all right, yeah.
Maybe we'll get you to. You don't know him, it's all good. But Chris French,
this one's for you, Chris French.
There you go. Yeah, Chris French he might be part of Acadian or something.
As the name implies. Yeah, there might be some link there.
Like Trevor Murphy.
Super French.
Yeah, you're Irish French. Yeah.
That's
right on.
funny. Yeah.
So yeah. Seems to me I was going to say something, but it was really important. I got cut off hard.
I do that often. Yeah. I'm sorry.
I don't remember what it was though. What are you gonna do, right? No. So obviously, like gigging has not been a thing lately due to restrictions and whatnot. Do you have any like summer plans to resume gigging and whatnot?
Yeah. Hopefully,
that's gonna happen.
We actually got lucky. Like we kind of hit a sweet spot in that period where shows were able to happen. So we played. Our first show ever was at this festival in Moncton called Acadie Rock, which rules. Then we were able to play Nova Scotia Music Week and this other festival in Dieppe called Franco Fête. And our first show in Halifax was at the Marquee for this festival called Franco Fest, not to be confused with Franco Fête. So that was really nice to have that experience. And now we're supposed to have a show in a couple of weeks. We'll see, how that shakes out. And then we're going back to Dieppe to play another show in March. And then a few things on the horizon. I think for the summer, like around the Kazoo, I think you can expect us to be back on stage somewhere.
Awesome,
right on.
So did we talk about your nominations?
Oh
no. We might want to mention that.
Sure,
So you were nominated last year and you won.
Music Nova Scotia Awards. I won the it's Artiste Acadien Francophone de l'année, Acadian Artist of the Year. So that was really cool. And then I just got nominated at the ECMAs for Francophone.
Awesome.
Francophone Album of the Year. So the only person from Nova Scotia in that category, by the way. It's all it's New Brunswick versus me.
Now he's bragging.
Yeah. How do we vote?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't think ECMAs are. They're not a public vote. It's like a juried vote. But So we are going to be playing at ECMAs. I think they've announced that. I don't care if they have.
Okay, sweet.
We're playing at ECMAs. I don't know where and when yet, but we're going to play a couple shows there.
Cool.
Awesome. Yeah, man.
So I think we're going to wrap things up, Trevor, unless you got anything else to say. But
no, man, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, man. It's a pleasure. We've been wanting to do this with you for a while.
Good to catch up and chat with some folks who know where Sluice Point is. I will say, one of the things that I'm learning the most about calling my project Sluice is that we take it for granted that people know how to pronounce that word.
Oh,
so many people are like, Sluice? Is that how you? Because it's like a French thing too. They're like, and I'm like, no, man, it rhymes. Like I'm tempted to call the next record rhymes with juice.
There you go. Oh my God,
that's funny, dude.
Because
I'm a proud Sluicer.
Exactly.
Born and raised,
it's like in your blood.
But
so many people have no idea. And anyway, so that's just a funny thing that I've been having to deal with lately.
That's funny.
Yeah. So look it up, Sluice.
Right on.
Well, that's I'm gonna do the outro.
Do it.
You did the intro. Do the outro. I'm not mad at you. I suggested to you to do the intro. So thanks for coming. That's episode 8. You said 8. It's 8. It could be 9 because we have to figure out some stuff there and release, right? So
8 or 9.
8 or 9, maybe 10. Who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway,
just do this one.
Episode guest.
We'll add it in post.
Yeah. Right on. Cool.
Right on. Yeah. Thanks a lot for having me, guys.
Thanks for coming.
Pleasure. Thanks.
Cool. Yeah, it's good. I like that.
That's cool, man.
Oh yeah.
Not too bad.
Oh yeah, right under the wire.
Yeah. Oh, it shuts off.
Is it? Yeah. It'll do it itself.
Since they're not cinema cams, it shuts off.